because in your typical large grocery store, you can't find a clerk to say, how nice is this wine or what does it taste like? So you buy a pig in a poke and take it home, and either you like it or you don't. Yeah, it might be less expensive, but they're not going to sell wine for small wineries. They're going to put your wine in, and if you can make the customer come in and buy it, they'll keep your wine on the shelf. As soon as your wine doesn't move, it's gone. It's in the closeout bin and it's gone. And they're putting something in that's better advertised. And that's the part that the little wineries in New York State just don't understand. You have to have demand for a market, or for a product rather, before you can put it into some place that's as laissez-faire as a grocery store. It worries me a little bit that New York State has decided not to fund their tourism for another year. It just, you can tell that the politicians have never had a business. The one cash cow that was working for them, oh no, we won't give that anymore. It's just...
Bill, can you just give me a history on how you came to be a winery owner?
Yeah, if I can remember. It's been a long time since we started. But no, in 1975, our primary processor of grapes, which was Taylor Wine Company, told us they were going to take a third of what we had been sending to them in previous years for the 1976 harvest. So with a couple hundred tons of wine grapes and no home, we went to our state legislature and encouraged them to pass what's become known as the Farm Winery Law. And what that does is it creates a boutique winery industry in New York. There are some provisions that reduced the price of the licensing and gave us some privileges that nobody else had, at least not for a few years. But it more than anything, it created the image of a small winery that was making boutique wines. And they passed that legislation in 1976. That was Governor Carey. And we became the fourth winery, the first one to start a winery from scratch. The other three were wineries that had changed their license to take advantage of the better opportunities. But that's why we're here, is because we're kind of backed into it. It's worked well for us. We're very pleased. We're 34 years. This will be our 34th harvest. There was a crash course in '76. I went to UC Davis and got my how-tos from them and came back and we put together the equipment and opened. We've allowed our acreage to shrink down to less than 20 acres. We originally had 250. But in an attempt to concentrate on what we do best, we make wine. We buy a lot of grapes. Most, 95% come from Chautauqua County. The balance would come from the Finger Lakes. Depending upon the year, we'll sometimes buy grapes from Long Island, because the reds tend to get riper down there.
So you're already here, you know all the good growers, and you have relationships with everybody. So
this is the largest grape growing region in New York. We do 2/3 of the grapes, admittedly mostly Concord, but this is a great grape growing region. Almost every winery has a sweet wine that keeps the lights on. We have what's called Bella Rosa, and it keeps the lights on, I guarantee it, because it's a wonderful cellar. The name came from an Italian exchange student that we had. Nico was with us for a year, and I said, Nico, come up with a name for a wine. He came up with Bella Rosa. Pretty red.
That's great.
And it is, and it's worked very well for us. I tell people that the wine industry really has three main parts: growing grapes, making wine, and selling wine. And of the three, the last is the most important and will take up 90% of your time. 5% of your time grows grapes, 5% of your time makes wine, and quite often you'll make something that actually tastes good. I mean, even if you don't know what you're doing. And then the other 90% is to convince somebody to part with their almighty dollar to buy your bottle of wine. That's the hard part. I mean, we like to believe that our label is going to catch people's eye. The package sells the first glass. And you know, if the wine inside the bottle is as good as the package says it's going to be, then people will buy a second. It's slow. It's brick by brick. It takes quite a while for returns. I think we were 15 or 18 years before I could step back and say, okay, let's try to do something to make it bigger.